with us today. We are going to be doing a class on turning roadblocks into results. So, thank you for joining us. I also just want to share one other little thing, and that is that take lots of notes during this class because you want to capture everything that you have learned and that you are excited about learning and you, you're going to grab a lot of new thoughts here because everybody has roadblocks. I don't care how good you are at managing your thoughts, you still can have roadblocks. So let's get started here with our first slide. So what does a roadblock look like? What is it for you? You can type into the chat box if you can think of something that you think it's about, but I know for a lot of people they get stuck, they feel like they're not moving forward, they hit a plateau, they have limiting beliefs. A lot of things happen when we hit a roadblock, and what we want to do is get those roadblocks out of the way. So that's what we're looking towards doing, and today is your day to get that whole system and process so that you can work through that. So what does it look like? That's kind of what it looks like. Now let's talk about what causes these roadblocks. What causes them to show up in your life? And there are a lot of different causes, and we're going to go through those. And we mentioned some of those in the promotion for this class. Says we want to invest most of our time in the class closer to the end, where we're going to be talking about, how to overcome these, how to get through them, how to push past. So if everybody knows you have some roadblocks, you're pretty self-aware, and that's a good thing. Some people really don't know. So this is your chance to kind of figure that out. So one of those causes may be fear of failure or fear of success. People think it's funny when I say fear of success because they're thinking, why would I be afraid of success? Well, sometimes that's because we had success and we lost it. So then we're very uncomfortable with being successful. So that can be one. So lack of confidence can be one. Knowing that, we're not real confident right now in what's happening and we don't know why we aren't feeling confident, but it happens to all of us. Something new that we're attempting, we're at a new role, maybe we just became a director. So now we're at a place that, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a little afraid. So we hit a roadblock, and that's part of it. So there's also procrastination. Not that anybody here does it, but just in case. If you're somebody that puts things off a lot, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it next week. I'll do it after this happens or when this happens. Procrastination is how roadblocks show up. And then, of course, negative thinking, because we all have thoughts, and some thoughts don't work for us. Some thoughts make us move backwards or stand still. But negative thoughts is when you don't have control over your mind. You're not able to think through things. So that can cause roadblocks. Lack of clarity. A lot of times we're not clear of where we're going and we haven't got clear goals and so on. So when we aren't real sure what's supposed to happen, that lack of clarity can be a challenge for us. Perfectionism is another one. If you are a perfectionist, I'm just going to say this. Some of you, this happened as a result of your parents who were perfectionists, your mom or your dad, and you said, I never want to be a perfectionist. I never want to be like that. I never want to be like that. Well, sometimes it's not exactly like that. So our hope now is that we have people that let go of that perfectionism and strive for excellence. It'll make a big difference for you. So we're going to talk now, and this is where we're going to invest most of our time, is on how to conquer roadblocks. How do we push through these? How do we make things happen? Well, first of all, it's just being self-aware, knowing we have a roadblock that's in front of us, knowing that something is holding us back, knowing that something is stopping us. And if any of those things are happening, that roadblock can get in your way of achieving all the dreams that you have and the big things that you want. I'm just going to say, you've got to be self aware in order to figure out some of these other things. But you have to be self aware to conquer roadblocks. and get through them. Let's just talk about that for a minute. When you're self-aware, you have an understanding of what who you are, of what's going on with you, what you want, how you're feeling, why you do the things that you do. Someone that is self-aware has those things, and a lot of people aren't very self-aware. So we want to make sure that we figure this thing out and that you become more self-aware. You want to have clear goals, a vision of what these goals look like, setting them out in front of you, how you're going to make that happen. What are those goals? Because if you let the roadblock stop the goals, you'll never get where you want to go. Not going to happen. So, everyone, get a plan with those goals and know what it is that you're going to have in front of you and how you're going to get there. You want to stay focused on your why. And those of you that have been in our coach school, you all know about that emotional why and how that works. But the emotional why is what keeps you moving. It's what gets you past roadblocks. So keep that in front of you. And I'm going to tell you some of the things that are for the majority of the women in this business. The majority of the women, it's I want more for my family. I want to know I can take care of myself when it's time to retire. I want to have something that's my own that I created from the ground up. I want to make a contribution to the household income. I want to have my husband have a bit more choices of what he wants to do with his life. There's a lot of things, but they're based on emotion. The emotional why is an emotional feeling. It's a feeling, not a thing that you can see or put your hand on. So it's not the new car, it's not the house. It's what those things will do for you. And that is a big, big factor. So learn how to find that emotional why for other people. If you have the Build a Big book and the Build a Big workbook, you'll find on page 28 in that workbook how to walk yourself through this because most leaders really don't know how to find this. And it's a coaching skill, but I know that you can learn this and you can stay focused on your own why and support others to stay focused on theirs. Because you see, when they hit that roadblock or they get off base, bringing them back to that reason will keep them moving and push through whatever's happening. So once you have those goals set and you know why you're doing it, you want to develop an action plan. And that action plan is my portion. Now, I'm going to turn this over to Larry really quickly. I want you to get to meet Larry. And Larry is an amazing guy. And he is a very, very good person for you all to get to know. He's been in this business many, many years. He's a dear friend. He has built big, large businesses, and he has been very, very successful. So I'm going to let Larry go back and just add some to what I just shared on these roadblocks and put out front. But I want Larry to go back to a little bit more on the fear of failure or success, if you would, please, Larry.
Could we go to the goals?
Absolutely, we can do those goals. Um,
We were on the.
yes. So, staying focused on your why, and then we had having those clear goals is a part of this. So, Larry, talk a little bit more about that.
Okay. Well, hey, everyone. And I just want to thank Nikki for having me today and giving me this opportunity to speak to you guys. So, what I'd like to, Nikki, are you going to? Thank
I
you.
mm-hmm.
Thank you. So, I'm going to back up a little bit because, all this kind of comes under the category of success and being successful. And success is not a secret. It's not a mystery. There's a formula to it. There's a roadmap. and it's just as clear and precise and exact as the GPS in your car. This is the school that I went to. This is what my leaders ingrained into me over and over and over and over again. And I was very lucky to have those leaders because when I was starting, and I was new once too, you know, everybody's new once, and that was, of course, the same for me. They didn't spend so much time teaching me how to do something, how to share something, how to hand out something, the rules of the road in the share cycle of our business of sharing a tool with someone and following up and all of those things. They really taught me to focus on success and what that means. You know, there's a roadmap for everything out there, every vocation, every skill-based or educational program. If you want to become a doctor or an accountant or a welder, you know, you go through the curriculum and the program, and you be invested in that until you, of course, got your accreditation for whatever that is. And you didn't have to come up with that yourself. You're just engaging in whatever curriculum is meant to get you there. And what they just enveloped me in was this: the same thing exists for success. There is a roadmap for becoming successful in your life so that whatever your goal is, you can achieve it. In other words, it's kind of like what Abe Lincoln said oh so many years ago, right? You want to sharpen your axe. So when you swing the axe, the tree goes down, no matter what that tree is. And then one of the very first things they taught me was to set goals. And in setting goals, there are a few rules. Okay, number one, there has to be a time element attached to it. Number two, it needs to be specific. And number three, and most importantly, it's got to be written. You've got to write down. You've got to think on paper, if that makes sense. Think on paper. The physical act of writing down a goal makes it real. It makes it more tangible. And if you don't know where you're going to go, any road will get you there, right? So this act of actually writing it down, putting pen to paper, is number one. Again, the goal needs to be specific. There needs to be a time element attached to it, and it needs to be written. Because goals are like magnets, and the clearer the goal, the stronger the pull. It's just that clear. Because when your brain constantly sees these things, your mind begins to match up on the outside what you're most desiring on the inside. Now, I'm sure that this is nothing new for you to hear. That's never where the magic is. You know, you can look this up in a book, you can read this in a lot of articles, but the thing is, are you going to do it? Are you going to do the things that are the roadmap for people who want to achieve success? It's not whether you can or you can't, it's whether you will or you won't. And so it's really important to start with having those goals written. Another thing you can do is, if you have a large print calendar, if you don't, get one, you know, analog days, right? An actual printed calendar with the dates on there, and hopefully a large calendar. And whatever those goals you set out for yourself, and they need to be daily, of course, you can put an X on those days, a big X, where you actually accomplished what you had set out to do. And seeing that will instill a lot of confidence in you. Again, this is setting yourself up for success, not setting yourself up for failure. because you can hope things will happen, and hope is a good thing, but hope is not a plan. So you want to write down your goals, make sure there's specific time element attached to it, and you want to have them in a place where you can view them constantly so that your brain can start to match up on the outside what you're wanting on the inside. Get that calendar. Another thing you can do is get an accountability partner, or as we like to call it, as Nikki so aptly better named it, an empowerment partner. An empowerment partner is like a workout partner, right? There's going to be days, if you had a workout partner for going to the gym, it helps you be more accountable. It ensures that you're going to show up more often than you would if you were just on your own. And I highly encourage people to get a workout partner or an empowerment partner in our business. It's a really, really important thing that's going to help you stay on track. And you just being there for somebody else to stay on track does that same thing. You're going to be more likely to follow through if you hitch your wagon to someone. And I just want to say this one thing about getting a workout partner. It helps to get someone at least at your level or higher, right? Because you want that challenge. You always want to be working up, not down, if possible. Another thing you can do is get a vision board, sometimes called a dream board, but I like the word vision better. Because again, instead of just thinking about it, like the things that you want in your life, the things that you want to accomplish, why you're here, all of those things, and actually seeing them on a continual basis, having the vision of what you want to accomplish. And Nikki, you can go to that if we have that slide. I don't know if
I
we have.
do. Just one second.
I'm sorry, I thought you were going through the slides also.
I was, but something went a little sideways here for me. So you're
That's
just doing
okay.
great. I'll
But
catch up.
just having the vision of what you want in front of you, um, what all of that, it scientifically changes your brain, right? It stimulates your brain and leads to higher performance. It becomes more real, more tangible. And it's not just something out there in the ether, it's not just something out there left to the imagination. The words or the symbols that you can also attach to what you're putting up on a vision board can be very empowering. But here's the most empowering thing about it. It's the same thing that's empowering about your goals and what I'm about to cover, which is your why, is that you're going to bump into that every day. Okay, it's not an accident. Success doesn't happen by accident. That which you focus on grows. You guys get that, right?
Mm.
It just makes sense. All of this makes sense. It's not whether it makes sense, it's whether you're going to do it or not. But again, when I got started and my leaders encouraged me to read stories of successful people, read what they went through. So you'll be inoculated against all of the obstacles that you're going to face. Because there's a lot of obstacles, as we wrote in the promo, on the road to success. There's a ton of obstacles. So whether you meet those obstacles and view them as stumbling blocks or stepping stones depends on your mindset and your view of that. Because what happens to us happens to all of us, right? Nobody escapes the obstacles. So, life is 10% what happens to you, 90% how you're going to respond to it. Because what happens to it happens to all of us. So, when you meet those roadblocks, is it a setback for you? Are you going to quit because of it? Or do you know to expect it? And do you brush it off and just move on to the next thing because it's inevitable? And in fact, those obstacles are put out there as a test. Okay, you overcoming these obstacles, these roadblocks, is a test to see whether you get the reward or not. But it doesn't have to be left to chance. By you focusing on your goals, writing those goals down, and revising them, by the way, every quarter, you should be rewriting those goals. You should revisit those goals and make sure they're still the goals for now because you will have evolved somewhat. right? That's the goal. Hopefully you would have evolved somewhat. You want to revisit those goals, just like I had to revisit my vision board, which I was very glad to do because some of those things I had actually accomplished. Some of those things I put up on my dream board were no longer a dream, but they became reality. And so I had new pictures to put up. And so these things are very important. They ensure that you're going to reach the level at which you want to. And I know that I'm sitting here preaching and I'm not judging anyone here, but most people do not do this. But successful people do what successful people did not do. And that's why we have the numbers we have. 5% of in this country are employers, 95% are employees. That's not an accident. It's not an accident that 5 people put themselves at risk, that 5 people got uncomfortable, that 5 people took the chance, rolled the dice. So it's the same thing here. I'm sure a lot of you have heard from people, oh, only a few, those things. Only a few people make money doing those things. And my response is always, yeah, that's right. That's exactly right, because our business is just a reflection of society, and those numbers hold true down the line. But if you don't want to leave your success up to chance, you'll set goals. You'll revisit those goals. You'll get a calendar to help you stay accountable, find a workout partner. And these things will up the odds. And if you want to Google this, feel free, because there's been a ton of studies over time, including the famous study that's well referenced in Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill of the Harvard class, that for 20 years they tracked them of, they were asked to write their goals. Well, only 3% stuck with it and accumulated the collective wealth of the 97%. So this is not a secret. It's not a mystery. There's a formula to it, and it's exact as the GPS in your car if you'll only follow it. And what a lot of this has to do with is the next thing I'm going to talk about, which is your why. So in the promo, it said, stay focused on your why. So the first question I would ask is, do you have one? Okay. Do you have a why? And I am not talking about the fact that, do you have one? You all have one. But is it written? Same thing. Are you doing this with intention? Are you following the roadmap for what successful people did? Because successful people got very clear on their goals. Successful people do the first things first and the second things not at all. We don't have time to do everything. None of us. But we always have time for the most important things. This is the foundation for you to set in motion to reach the pot of gold. Becoming successful. These are the exercises. So do you have your why written? This is the first thing I do when a new person joins my business, is I want to know what their why is. And by the way, I'll share with them my why too. It's only fair, because I want them to know I have one as well. And it helps bond. It's a good thing to do. But see, my goal is in helping them get that. How can I help them get that if I don't even show interest and ask what it is? So that's step one for you, to write down your why. Write it down. And please give yourself this time to do this. And if you did it and did not do it in detail, take another stab at it. I would sit down with people who would say, well, I'd like some extra money and get a vacation. Okay, that's not a strong enough magnet, though. I want to know, what kind of income are you looking for? Write it down. Sometimes I might need to participate and suggest. Okay, is it a couple hundred a month? 3, 400? What are you looking for? You want to pay a couple bills? What bills? The phone bills? Rent? What is it? Let's write it down. You want to go on vacation? Where? Where's the vacation you're dreaming of going on with your family? Again, details. These are important things so that your brain can start to work for you in helping you achieve these things. So know your why. And if you did not spend alone time away from distractions with a large piece of paper, maybe a couple, and a good 15 minutes of you just being with you doing this, please do it. I didn't invent this blueprint. It's been around a long time. So I hope you participate in that. And then finally, action plan. Developing an action plan. The action plan is really part of goal setting. That's often the step that's missed by most people, because goal setting is great and it's important and it's the first step. But there are other steps, as we've talked about, and one of them is developing an action plan. And again, it's a step missed by most people because it writing down things is important, and it's important to again know where you're going, but also how you're going to get there. So, for instance, when you're writing down your goals, and some of those goals including achieving certain, let's say, benchmarks in your business, rank, income, growth, how are you planning on getting there? What is the plan? And there has to be a plan. Nobody sets out and opens up a business without extensive planning. No business just arrives at their next quarter without having pre-planned 6 to 12 months in advance. All of business requires an action plan. And this is about treating your business like a business. If you treat it like a hobby, it'll be a hobby. But if you treat your business like a business, you can actually build a business. And this is what is required in business. So develop an action plan that goes along with your goals, because this is part of goal setting. You state what you want, when you want it by, right? It's got to be specific. It's got to be a time element attached to it. And of course, you're writing it down. But what is the action plan that goes along with that? If you want to achieve X by what date, what are those things that you need to do that would bring that to be? And that's where those X's on that calendar comes into play. Because listen, this is a volunteer army. Nobody's going to fire you if you don't show up. So this is accountability time for you. You have to get better at being you, right? The army, be all you can be. Really, that's what it is. Your income will only grow as far as you do. So you have to put these things in place to help you stay on track. And this is the roadmap to success. So make sure whatever action plan you're writing down, is practical, but also challenges you. And you want to make sure and get a lot of X's on on that calendar, because that's accountability, right? you got to be able to look in the mirror and say, if my team did what I did today, would I be making any money? Ooh,
Mhm,
that's a good one.
mhm.
If my team did what I did today, would I be making money? Because it starts with you, starts and ends with you. So don't leave your future up to chance, please. There is a roadmap and there are some important pieces for you to get started. And then the thing I'm going to end on before I turn it back over to Nikki very quickly is this. And I love the graphic.
Hmm.
I love that. And you can take that slide off if you wouldn't mind. Um, Engaging in daily growth. So there are some things for you to do there, right? And you're not the first to hear this. It didn't get introduced this year. It got introduced hundreds of years ago. Again, the question is not can you do it, but will you do it? It's not, we're human beings. We have opposable thumbs, independent brains. We can accomplish anything. So how come some do, but most don't? I followed all of this stuff because I had that type of leadership. This is the school I went to, and I'm very grateful for it. But at the end of the day, everybody gets this stuff. Why did I make it and so many others didn't? I'm not that special. Just ask the people that know me. They'll tell you I'm not that special. I didn't have any DNA for this stuff. I didn't. But my why was bigger. Maybe I had less options. I don't know. I'm not going through my story right now. But the bottom line is if I'm running a race with 25 people and 24 of them drop out, I win. And that's a lot of what happens in our business, the attrition, because people meet up with these obstacles, doesn't feel good, they quit. But that's why there's so much room at the top. It's the bottom that's crowded. So, how do you separate yourself from the masses? How do you separate yourself from the masses? Because it does not take much to beat the masses. I want you to hear me on this. Everybody's here. You only need to be here to beat the masses. It's not all of this. It's not this gigantic move. 10% more from you makes you 100% better. You're just looking for improvement. But if you're the only one coaching you, it's very hard to do. It's like being your own lawyer, right? And you know what they say about that. Probably shouldn't. It's not a great idea for a lot of reasons. But here, engaging in daily growth, see, this is what our business is about because we are a volunteer army. And it's easy to get in, so it's easy to get out. There's really not a lot of accountability. So you're the variable. I was the variable. Okay? You're the variable in all of this. So you've got to get better if you want your results to get better. Remember that axe that Abe Lincoln said? If I had 6 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend 4 hours sharpening my axe, 2 hours chopping the tree. Because with a sharp axe, I'm not going to have to work as hard and I'm going to be prepared. But what do most people do? They're swinging a dull axe, the tree isn't going down, and now it's the tree's fault. It's the company's fault. It's your fault. It's my fault. There's people out there. Last I looked, we're all dealing with the same human race. Success is never the external. It's the internal. It's not what happens to you because what happens to you happens to all of us. It's how you're going to respond to that. And your income will only grow as far as you do. That's the way it goes. There's an old saying about millionaires. It's a lot of hard work to get to become a millionaire. But once you earn that first million, the second and the third, come like that. Why is that? Because you went through what you had to go through to become someone who could earn a million. And once you fought that fight and made it to that pinnacle and went down that road and ran through the roadblocks and brushed off the obstacles, and once you got to that spot, you earned your stripes. You came out on top. So now the next one, because you learned how to do it, comes up quickly. So this is about engaging in daily growth. I'll say this last thing. If you want to feel good, look good, if you want to be healthy, you've got to put good food in on a daily basis. It can't be, well, the light switches on, the light switches off. I'll eat good for a couple days. I'll fast food it for 3 days. Won't happen. It's the same thing with your brain. If you really want the shortcut, it's engaging in daily growth and sharpening your axe so the tree goes down no matter what you swing it at. It's becoming someone who gets better so that you can earn more, become more, work harder on yourself than you do anything else, and the rest will just fall off the bone, as they say. It's a daily thing. And if you want a quick formula for that, just read 10 pages a day or listen to 15 minutes of audio. If I hand you a book and say you got to read this, you'll look at it, it'll sit on one table, move to the other. You'll never open it because nobody has time for that. But if I ask you if you can read 10 pages a day, you say, well, sure, I can. Again, it's not whether you can or you can't in that case, whether you will or you won't. But you can read 10 pages a day. And 10 pages a day done on a daily basis puts good stuff in here on a daily basis because we all carry a bucket of thoughts around with us every day. You need to put some good in to deal with all the other stuff, right? It's just a bite a day, right? An apple a day keeps the doctor away. It's not 7 apples on Sunday. So just take a bite a day, and 10 pages a day is 300 pages a month. That's 12 to 15 good books a year. And I can guarantee you this, a year from now, you'll be different. Things will be better because you'll have become better. And you'll see the trees start going down. I'm going to hand it off to Nikki to take over from here. Thank you so much for having me. I hope you guys actually go and put this plan into action. The plan works. You just got to work the plan. Thank you.
Thanks, Larry, so much. And there's so many good nuggets in there, and I hope you captured all of them. Otherwise, you're going to get the recording tomorrow and you go back and listen again because you'll get so much more. And Larry, we have a lot going on in the chat box, and I want to address those at the end today. So let's make sure we keep going here and that daily growth every day. Make it part of your plan. Make it part of what you're going to invest in. That's investing in yourself. Plus, what are you modeling for your children when you're doing that? That's just part of keeping good, positive activities going on. So, our next little thought for you to be able to get through these roadblocks is challenging negative thoughts. And I don't care how good you are, how positive you are, how smart you are. We all have passing of negative thoughts. So again, it's being aware first and how to move those thoughts. You can ask yourself, what's the opposite of that? If you said, "Oh, I'm exhausted. Why am I so tired?" Well, what happens? What's the opposite of that? How would I prefer to feel right now? Ask yourself a different question, you'll get different results. Remember that thoughts lead to feelings, feelings lead to action, inaction. Action, inaction leads to results, yes, or results, no. But you can't blame your results on just what you've done. It starts with your thinking. And remember that the most current thought is the most important thought. So if I'm aware I've got a thought that isn't serving me, move that thought to something different in just a few minutes, and you'll see some pretty big results pretty quickly. So we want to celebrate your efforts, celebrate progress, celebrate that you have gone forward, that you've taken a baby step. Celebrate something. Take the time to celebrate. And those of you that know me know I'm kind of a big celebrator. I like to be excited about something. And I teach my grandbabies to be excited about things that are happening in their lives. Know that celebration just takes a minute. Doesn't mean that you have to go do something. It doesn't mean that you have to go out or that you have to buy something. Celebration can be in your own personal way. Take a few minutes every day to celebrate life, to celebrate your efforts, to know that you are moving beyond these current circumstances and that you recognize that versus beating yourself up. Sometimes we invest our day and spend our day in, why did I do that? That was so stupid. I should be further along. I need to be doing this. Those things aren't going to get you anywhere. They aren't going to serve you. So celebrate your efforts. And then again, take results oriented action, action that is creating positive results. Moving papers from one side of your desk to the other side of your desk is not going to get you results. It's just moving things around. So, what is it that is going to get you results? Things that action steps that are moving you forward, action steps that are moving you towards your goal. Take the time to celebrate the efforts and get those results oriented actions into place. Now, I know we've covered a lot today and we have some time for Q&A, but I'm also going to bring up the chat box because we had so much going on in this chat box. You folks are chatty. That's a good thing. I have roadblocks look like a lack of skills to scale for me. A lack of skills to scale for me. Sometimes I actually have the skills, but I just don't know it yet. That's an interesting thought. Here, fear of success for me is the fear of releasing control, as well as fear of higher responsibility. And can I handle it? That self doubt of, gosh, I have more people on my team, I've got more responsibility. You teach people to be responsible for themselves. That's another thought. Oh, Cindy, I'm glad you're here today. And she says that's for me sometimes too. So, a lot of people have these thoughts. You're not alone in this. A lot of people have these feelings. I lack, I think lack of clarity might be one for me. So some of you are discovering what are some of these thoughts for you. That's a good thing. Here, this emotional why, she says, I want to create opportunities for my children and our family to make our dreams a reality, home ownership, and a financially secure future. Flight school for my oldest, uh, a grand piano for my middle. We are just beginning to discover passions for my youngest. Your children can be a really good thing if you have children. Sometimes we'll do things for other people that we won't do for ourselves. A lot of thank yous to you, Larry, here. So I'm happy to see that. Fantastic. I have so many pages of notes, and I just gave me a vast amount of social content, Larry. Thank you. I'm so glad.
Hey, can I address one of these?
Absolutely.
Can you take the Q&A slide off so I can?
I am doing it right now. So what sidebar what would you like to address?
Oh, can I just? Oh, thanks. So Chelsea, hi.
Mhm.
The plan is what you were missing. So, um, this is like look. I was a guitar player. Let's see, Guitars for Vets. I volunteer for them. A great organization, everybody. So I was a guitar player that didn't graduate high school. So when my musical career kind of went down, like I didn't have any of these. I had no school. I got a business degree in my first year. In 1 year of working with my leaders, I got a business degree because they kept saying to me, "How can you build a business without you going to leave it up to fate? You got to have a plan, a business plan." This is one of the things they drilled into me, treating your business like a business. And it included all these things because if you had gone to business school, if anybody goes to business, they learn all of these elements, all of these skill-based things that they spent 4 years or maybe more in higher education doing to be able to earn a degree, a piece of paper that will hopefully allow them to make a good income. I received that a lot of this stuff in a year, and they just drilled it into me. You've got to have a plan. What's your plan? What are you doing? What is the activities, activity based? Okay, personal development was always first, every day. And then what are the activities you're going to do to go from A to B and then from B to C? And we would do this as a group. We would sit and actually map out our next 3 months. So it wasn't even I participated in it. I get credit for that. I didn't have to show up. But again, because I showed up, they showed up. They came out of the woodwork to help me because I was showing up. So this is a very important thing. And I'm really glad that you said that because it will now bring you hopefully to doing that. And that's important. You wouldn't take a second on your house for a business and open a business without a plan, would you? I mean, that's like financial suicide, craziness. So I'm glad you wrote that.
Mm. Hey, Larry, do you want to ask any of the or respond to any of the other things in the chat there before we wrap it up here?
Um,
The newer ones are down here at the bottom.
no, I'm grateful that you guys made it on here. And I mean, if anybody has a question they want to ask, if you're doing that, I don't know. I don't mean to interject on your.
Yes, anybody that has a question about anything, now's the time to ask it. And I'm also going to let you know some things that are coming up. We have a new Coach Excellence School, a level 1 school that's beginning April the 11th. And it's set up. If you're a DSWA member, you can get a discount on a $100 discount for that class. And up at the top, you'll notice join the Alliance now. There, that'll tell you about the Alliance and how it works and what we're doing. We have a lot of new things that are getting ready to come out. So I'm very, very excited about that. And so for anybody that wants to join, you can click on that learn more and come back to that later if you'd like to do that. So let me check. There's my little chat's flashing and I want to see if there's anything else here. What are things you look for in an empowerment partner? I have someone who once had the same goals and that I have, but they've changed. And for her, for a while, and she's still a very close friend, but is no longer pacing. Really look for someone that has common ambition, drive. Maybe you're goaling for the same thing. Someone that is supportive, but somebody also that will talk to you about what's really going on. And if they know how to coach, will be able to coach you also, because sometimes we pick people we really like to be our empowerment partner, and we think that they're wonderful people, but they let us keep doing what we've been doing, and it's maybe not been the best thing for us. And that, it's like the friend that you take shopping with you and you say, how does this look on me? They say, oh, it looks really good. But you're thinking, they don't think this looks so good. I'd rather have someone say, hey, that looks horrible on you so that I make a good decision. So just know that you've got opportunity to find great people. There's a lot of good people and a lot of good people in DSWA, in your own companies. Find what works for you and make that happen. So anybody else with a new thought or anything to wrap up with? We went a little bit long today, but I'm just so glad that you were here. I'm going to put Larry and I up here together because I want Larry to be able to say goodbye. And I know that you all enjoyed him being here too. So, Larry, anything for you to wrap up with?
No, I just, it didn't know if anybody had any questions, but I'm just glad to be able to hopefully to contribute to something that made sense to you all. Just know that, hope is not a plan. And there's like I said, there's a definite roadmap for becoming successful. I wish they offered something like this in grade school. I might have stuck around when they when they uh, when they spoke about this, but I was sure glad to learn it. That there's and I would suggest at the same time, I read a lot of books about people that had overcome the odds and what they went through, and it almost made me ashamed to quit or complain and
Mm,
embarrassed to feel sorry for myself because I was going through everything they said they went through, and then, like I said, it inoculated me. So when things happened, I
mm,
was like, oh, well, this is supposed to happen. I'm right where I'm supposed to be in this journey. And so I kept going. And then at some point, that hockey stick that you hear about came came through, and I got on the other side of it. But again, that's the test to see if you get it. So you can't run from it because it's there for everyone. You can just but you can run through it.
mm. Good point. We had just a few last comments here. I love that Napoleon Hill was brought up. We love all of his books. Find those books, and if you ever are looking for books, just write to info@dswa, and we'll get back to you with some books that we think are really very good to read and to get involved in. Lots of good podcasts out there too. Try a few of those. So we enjoyed having all of you here. And I like all your comments. We got it. Hope is not a plan. Mm. And thank you that you love our Build It Big books. I'm glad that you read them. And I think you were involved, Chelsea, in a club that we had too, a Build It Big club. And anybody can start those at any time. So thank you, everyone, for your time. Be blessed and enjoy your time with your team. And hopefully this little roadmap to get past the roadblocks, to bulldoze through those roadblocks, made a difference for you today. And next month, and I think it's on the 8th, it's going to be a social media free class. So get involved with those. And then we are starting to have more and more and more things that we're bringing to DSWA. So hopefully you'll become a member really soon. Good night, everyone. And thank you so much. Aloha.
Thank you.
It's not closing out, but it should soon exit.